Hello. I was born and raised till I was 12 years old by my dysfunctional parents. They did not teach me anything except to go to school and hurry up with your homework because there's work to do around the house. I'm not talking about a farm. I'm talking about rural. My father would make up work for me to do that was nonsense. And he did not call me by my name. He used to curse at me. He used to say, "Douglas, what are you doing now?" That's a curse word. He made it so it was like, "Douglas, what are you doing now? I have to know what you're doing every minute of the day. When you get out of school, come straight home from school and stay in the house until I get home and I tell you what to do." I said, "Yeah, okay, Dad. I'm going to call the police on you." So he started beating up my mother. And I called the police. That was at 12 years old. And my mother came out of the house with blood on her face, dripping down off her cheek, where he struck her. My father struck her, a defenseless little woman. And the police said, "Okay, if there's nothing wrong here, we have to go." And I said, "No, I'm not going back in that house. He's going to beat me too." And my father was very angry, and he showed his anger. And the police looked at me and said, "You don't have to go back in that house. You have a place to stay tonight, and we'll find some place for you to live tomorrow." So I called the police the next day after school hours. And a caseworker picked me up and took me to a boys' home. So that's where I grew up. And then by the time I hit 17, it was time for me to move. And I asked my mother to sign the papers so I could go into the Navy. And she did at 17 years old. So there I was for 6 years. I did my duty. I served my country. And they gave me an honorable discharge. So I was out. What did I do? I started a lawn and tree business. I went to the old people's neighborhoods and asked them if I could use their equipment, I would maintain their lawn. And I had several customers like this. And we talked about payment arrangements. And I said, how much can you afford? And ended up that a lawn with their equipment for the month was for $45. And I wanted a personal check. So after a while, I built up revenue and decided to expand out and trim trees on customers' property with a chainsaw. And I became known as the artist with a chainsaw because I would trim and shape the trees and the shrubbery in a beautiful way. My journey was not over yet. It was only just begun. Then My father took his own life with a gun. So my mother contacted me and said, Father is dead. And I said, what do you want? She said, I want you to come home for Christmas. So I flew back to Ohio, put all my work on hold, and decided to visit her for a short time. And what I found out was that there were demons in the house. And I did not like that at all. So, what did I do? I flew back to where I came from and started working again, but it wasn't the same because the demons followed me wherever I went. And I said, man, something's got to be done here. So I wasn't able to sleep anymore. I had anxiety problems. So the police of the city that I was in locked me up in a mental institution. And I spent 10 mandatory days in there taking Thorazine and some other drugs. And I went to court, and the doctor asked the judge to keep me hospitalized for a while. And I told the judge that I have people to take care of in my lawn and tree business, and I'll go to outpatient and take medicine outside of the hospital. And the judge ruled in my favor because he said I was going to go with the doctor's opinion, but since you want to do this on your own, in your own free will, I'm going to release you today. And that was a heavenly thing that happened. Because mental hospitals are a terrible place to be in. There are all kinds of people that are unstable, and they don't have, there's no good thing about it. I'll just put it that way. So that's the end of my reel. 35 years later, I'm out here living a good life, and I'm on retirement now. I get a Social Security check, but I'm still disabled, but stable. If you think you cannot recover from an unknown illness, think again, because it is possible to continue in life even though everything seems to be against you in the big picture. Here I am. I am Paul Bunyan. Excuse me for that cough. I am Paul Bunyan, the Tree Man. That's what I'm known as. And I just wanted to broadcast a little bit, tell you some of my story, the highlights, and tell you don't give up the ship. You never give up the ship. I was in the Navy for 6 years, and I did my job. And that's what it was, first of all, was the job. But I did not know how to stay in for 6 years, but they made it possible that I could survive and get an honorable discharge. And I moved on. But that's all in the history of that's the way it had to go. So there. Appreciate listening to a story that can only get a story that can only get better. Good night.